Well, welcome everyone. We're very happy and excited for all of you to join us today on a session on how to fund your graduate studies in the sciences, technology, engineering, and math fields. My name is Sana Itayim, and my colleague Marwa Shille are the Education USA West Bank advising team here at Ahmed East Ramallah. We are delighted to introduce you to our guest presenters from Stevens Institute of Technology, Amanda Mendez, and she's the Associate Director for Graduate Admissions, and Marina Tadros, Graduate Admissions Coordinator at the Office of Graduate Education. Before we give the mic to Amanda and Marina, Marwa will provide a brief overview of Education USA and our services, in addition to some housekeeping for our session today. Go ahead, Marwa.
Thank you, Sana. Hi, everyone. Again, my name is Marwa Shille, and I am the Education USA Advising Assistant based at the Amid East office here in Ramallah, the West Bank. So first, let me tell you a little bit about Education USA. Education USA is a U.S. Department of State network. There are over 550 advisors in over 430 international student advising centers in 178 countries and territories. Our mission is to promote the U.S. higher education institutions and to help students prepare for the application process and receive admissions to different U.S. universities and colleges. For Education USA, we have different sessions with our students. For example, we have in-center activities. In our office, we usually have different sessions on different topics and individual consultations with students, with parents. And at the same time, we have outreach sessions where we visit different high schools, universities, and colleges, and also local organizations to speak to students who are interested in learning more about studying in the U.S. We also connect U.S. higher education institutions and representatives who visit us here in Ramallah and would like to know and get to know our students and meet them. Also, we have virtual advising, and since March 2020 this year, because of the COVID-19 situation, all of our services have been online and we have been doing everything virtually. For the Education USA website, you can find so much information about studying in the US. You will find the 5 steps to US study. And the first step is to research your options. Researching your options is one of the most important steps because you need to find the best fit program and university, based on your needs and based on your goals. There are different things that you need to take in consideration when you want to select a university or college, like, location, your major, what do you want to study, the size of the university, the faculty, and many other factors that must be important to you. Of course, the second step is to finance your studies. You need to understand the costs of studying at a specific university or college, and how are you going to pay for these costs, and if there are any financial aid or scholarships available at that specific university or college for international students. The third step, which is also time-consuming step, is to complete your application. You need to start as early as possible so you can actually prepare your application folder. There are different requirements that you need to work on, like testing, recommendation letters, writing your personal statement, and other things as well. Of course, after you apply to different US universities and colleges, and hopefully you will receive an admission and you accept an offer, you have to apply for a student visa so you can actually travel to the United States. And the fifth and final step is to prepare for your departure. And what's amazing about the Education USA website, you can actually find information on each step based on the levels of study that you are interested in, like English language programs, graduate study, undergraduate, and other things as well. Also, make sure that you check the Education USA website for updates. There's a special section where you will find updates, related to the COVID-19 situation, information on the exchange programs, information from the Department of Homeland Security, community, specifically guidance for students and other things as well. Also, on the Education USA website, you will find a special section on special opportunities and financial aid. A couple of US universities and colleges actually share their financial aid, opportunities like scholarships on the Education USA website for a graduate study. So you can check that as well. Also, please make sure that you follow us on our social media platforms like Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and YouTube. Also, you can contact us via email at ramallah@educationusa.org if you have any follow-up questions, maybe after today's session, or if you would like to maybe schedule an individual consultation for a follow-up, or if you need any resources, we are here to help you. If you have any questions during the session, please just type them in the chat box. Also, if you are watching this on Facebook, please just write your questions in the comments section. And now I'm going to hand it over to you, Marina and Amanda. Again, thank you so much for taking your time to do this session with our students.
Perfect. Hello, everyone, and welcome. We're so excited to be here. As was mentioned before, my name is Amanda Mendez. I am the Associate Director for the Office of Graduate Admissions at Stevens Institute of Technology, and I'm joined by my colleague, Marina. Marina?
Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us. We're so excited to be here with you. I think this is a great topic for you to really know what resources you have available to you to fund your dreams to go to grad school. So I hope you find this insightful. And with that, we'll go ahead and get started.
Absolutely. Thank you all very much again. And again, our objective here is to present to you on the topic of how to fund your graduate STEM program. Okay, so let's get started. So first and foremost, let's discuss STEM programs: science, technology, engineering, and mathematics, right? Some of you might have just started your search for a graduate program. Perhaps you're trying to determine what type of program you want. And if you're thinking about a STEM program, great. And if you haven't yet thought about a science, technology, engineering, and mathematics program, hopefully by the end of this presentation, we will be able to impart some knowledge on the benefits and, of course, how to fund these programs. So let's talk about the benefits about pursuing a STEM graduate program first. So first and foremost, and technology is at the core of all industries, whether it be engineering, business, science, math. You can find technology everywhere. Technology really drives value. One of the strongest and most prominent companies was Microsoft in the early 2000s, as you can see from this diagram here. But by 2018, actually, technology companies like Apple, Alphabet, Microsoft, Amazon dominated the markets, okay? So what does this mean to you as a prospective graduate student? Well, this means that technology will continue to dominate all fields, and you need to develop knowledge of how to use technology to solve societal problems. Additionally, this means that employers are looking for graduates from programs that are focused in this area. So this is one of the first reasons why you should consider a STEM graduate program, okay? Another reason that you can consider a STEM graduate program is for its transferable technical and management skills, okay? STEM graduate programs not only teach you the technical skill sets that you need, but they also introduce you to management skills. And both of these together complement each other very well, and they're sought by employers. If we take the industry, the business industry, for instance, you can see on the slide that the current trends are age of networks, age of platforms, age of data, right? So these forces and current trends are currently sought out by employers. And so again, what does this mean to you? Well, this means that in order for you for employers to want to hire you, you need to have transferable technical and management skills, okay? A third reason why you should pursue a STEM graduate program is because STEM graduate programs introduce you to groundbreaking and life-changing research. So if you want to be part of research, okay, this is one of the reasons why you should invest and start thinking about a STEM graduate program. Okay, if your ultimate career goals are to create change, then of course you need to study what processes are working in your current industry. And by studying these processes, of course, you're going to, research is going to lead to data. Data is essentially going to lead to new decisions. Decisions will lead to a new design or process. And ultimately, a new design or process will result in a new product or improved service, okay? And research, again, applies to all industries, whether you're in the financial industry or in the healthcare industry. Research is something that you can get involved. So again, if you want to do research, this is something that you can consider. The current pandemic that we're living in right now is a perfect example of the need for research and STEM professionals, right? Think about the number of organizations, the agencies, the universities that are currently studying to understand COVID-19. And then think about those organizations that are also studying and investing time to create new diagnostic tools. And then yet there's another set of organizations that are currently studying to find the right treatments or vaccines for COVID, right? So again, the neat thing to know is that research is something that is being invested. It's a priority for many organizations. And again, this is a third reason why you should consider a STEM graduate program if you want to invest time in making a change in this way, okay? A fourth reason why you should consider a STEM graduate program is, of course, because of the rewarding career opportunities, okay? According to the US Bureau of Labor Statistics, employment in STEM-related occupations was expected to grow to more than 9 million by 2020, okay? This is an impressive number. And what this means to you, again, is that STEM graduates are in demand. Not only are engineering and students in demand, but also business students. According to the GMAC Application Trend Survey in 2019, more than 90% of Fortune Global 100 and 500 companies were also hiring MBA talent, okay? So again, the numbers on this slide and the trends that are highlighted here by some higher education agencies are a true testament to how rewarding a career can be after pursuing a STEM graduate program, okay? So something for you to keep in mind, okay? So we've talked about the benefits of pursuing a graduate STEM program, okay? Now let's actually talk about how to fund your STEM graduate program. So you might be just starting your search on a graduate program, as we discussed earlier. If you are starting your search, the first and most important thing for you to really do is to consider and reflect why you're pursuing a graduate program, okay? Of course, if any of the reasons that I mentioned before are the reason, well then great. But you yourself have to think about why you're pursuing the graduate program, and of course think about what type of program you want to pursue along with the concentration or focus area. Once you have an idea of what type of program, then certainly you will start your search, you'll look through different websites. In order to find a STEM graduate program, you should be looking through the different university websites to understand what is the full list of programs that universities offer, but also what is a smaller subset of lists that indicates which are STEM programs, okay? Once you have narrowed down the list of STEM programs on a particular university, certainly then you can start asking university officials what type of funding there is in terms of those particular programs, okay? So let's actually delve into the types of funding methods that there are throughout the different universities. So one of the first ways that you can fund your studies is really through institutional fellowships or scholarships, okay? Talking about Stevens in particular, we offer fellowships or scholarships on the basis of whether you're a master's student or a PhD student. So other universities out there will also have specific scholarships for master's students or doctoral students. And it is your job to determine which one, of course, you can be eligible for, and this will depend on what type of program and degree you're looking for, right? At Stevens, for example, master scholarships and doctoral fellowships are all given based on academic achievement, research. There are certain application requirements, of course, that you have to keep in mind. And so there are deadlines that you have to consider while preparing your academic profile, your package to apply to Stevens. The awards will vary depending, again, on whether it's a master's award or a doctoral fellowship award. If it's a master's award, these scholarships are given to students who are coming in for their first year of study, okay? And they're given on the basis of, again, their academic achievement or research. If they're doctoral fellowships, they're actually given for the full 3 to 4 year program or duration that the PhD program would take you, okay? So as you can see, even within one university, there are differences on the duration of the awards. There will certainly be differences on the stipend, okay? Master scholarships at Stevens are actually awarded anywhere from $5,000 to $15,000. In some cases, we have seen fellowships being given up to $20,000. But of course, the doctoral fellowships are a little bit more in that they're covering your full tuition and fees, and you're actually getting a stipend as well, okay? And so some important tips to remember about fellowships and scholarships. You have to learn about the eligibility from the admission officers, okay? Again, once you narrow down whether a university has STEM programs, then you can start looking, and when you come across scholarships, think about, am I eligible for this? Talk to someone who can tell you what exactly are the qualifications in terms of GPA, GRE. For example, at Stevens, you know, the average GPA that we look for is about a 3.0. The average GRE that we look for is about a 300, 305. But this will vary across different universities. So in order to best prepare your academic profile, you'll want to ask these questions. Understand your chances, because ultimately you will need to consider whether or not you are going to be eligible for a scholarship. And if not, you'll have to consider other ways to fund your studies, okay? A second way to fund your studies is through what we call graduate assistantships, okay? Now, again, most institutions will have two types of graduate assistantships. They'll have research assistantships, which are assistantships where you engage in research under a faculty member's supervision, okay? So you'll be working with a particular professor on a research topic of your interest, of course. And then there are other assistantships that are teaching assistantships. And these assistantships, you will actually assist a professor with teaching an undergraduate course or lab, okay? Now, both types of awards may give you some sort of payment for your tuition and fees, and may also provide a stipend. So in this way, they're going to be funding your studies, but of course, you have to be either engaging in research or assisting a professor, okay? The hours that you can work under a research assistantship could be maybe 20 hours. It could be more depending on the faculty member who you're working with. For teaching assistantships, it could be 10 hours, it could be 15 hours, again, depending on the course that you're teaching. Some courses I know at Stevens, which are students help in, they actually have to grade homeworks. They actually have to host office hours for the students, right? So there are different ways, again, there are different requirements for either research assistantships and teaching assistantships that you will have to consider, okay? The most important thing, again, some tips on how to secure one is, again, once you determine what university you want to actually do this research on, look for the different ways to fund your graduate program per the website. Talk to admission officers about how you can apply to these. So for example, at Stevens, these assistantships are generally given to master's second year students or PhD students. It's not something that our first year students can actually use. So in essence, when we connect with students, we of course make them aware of this, but we tell them the importance of networking, okay? And this is something that I know that my colleague Marina will talk more about in a future slide, but networking is going to be really important because, again, this is going to potentially lead to this type of funding. And so that is something you have to consider, that the moment that you start your studies at any university, you have to start building connections. You have to start building relationships with your faculty advisors so that they understand your interests. And so again, you have these possibilities, these chances to secure such assistantships, okay? It's very important that you start receiving mentorship from your faculty advisors, and that of course you perform well in classes, because all of this will lead to assistantships, okay? You should also, in advance of studying, of course, you want to make sure that you review what type of research areas there are at a certain university, right? If you're interested in medical devices, if you're interested in tissue engineering, you of course want to know what type of research is happening at that university, because eventually if you want to secure a research assistantship, you'll need to be familiar with the research areas, okay? And if there are particular courses that on the long run you think you can handle as a teaching assistant, you of course need to make sure that you voice this to your faculty members who are going to be your mentors or your advisors along the way. Okay, excellent. So at this point in time, I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to my colleague Marina. Marina.
Thank you, Amanda. So to continue the different options that are available to you, the next one is on-campus employment. And I think this one is really important for a few reasons. So what it is they are basically they are jobs available to you on campus through the school. So you can work in different types of departments. You can work in a gym, you can work at the graduate admissions office, where Amanda and I work. We hire about a dozen of assistants to come join us. So really any departments, all different types of departments and across the schools that are like the different schools the university might have. These are all opportunities for you to apply. You submit your resume and go in for an interview and then hopefully secure an on-campus job, which you can do at the same time during your studies. So as you can see, if you're coming in on an F1 student visa, during the semester, you are only allotted 20 hours per week to work. And this is because you do also need enough time to make sure that you're studying and keeping up with your courses. So during the semesters, you get only 20 hours a week. But then during the summer, since you don't have courses, it's increased to 33 hours, so almost a full-time job. So really, it's a great opportunity to make some money as you study. And then you'll find commonly that the way that the payments are made is every 2 weeks, so on a bi-weekly basis. So a few things to keep in mind about the on-campus employment is that you do want to, again, using the university websites is going to be a huge tool for you, because that's how you're going to get at least the basic information for everything that you're looking for. And as Amanda mentioned, when you're looking into credentials and there's fellowships, if there are STEM programs, you need to learn how to navigate these university websites. And one of those things you want to continue researching on are there student employment. And if you just search student employment, I'm sure like 9 times out of 10, you're going to get something off of that university website. And they're going to explain to you what the application process is. And this is really important because I think, you don't want to underestimate on-campus employment, even if it is working, at the library or at the gym, because it allows you to be exposed to what the work schedule is in the US, especially if this is going to be your first US job, just to get the hang of the scheduling, the expectations, the work environment, what it looks like. So it gives you that experience, and it's certainly something that will that you can even use on your resume. You can talk about it in your interviews for your actual career, how this helped you assimilate. So it's a very good tool and something to take advantage of. And the next thing is my favorite point to make in every presentation is the networking and taking the opportunity to build your relationships with faculty members and staff on campus. This is very important when you're researching your school, because you want to see ultimately what kind of network they're going to offer you. Because of course, the education and the skills that you're going to be learning in your courses is super important, but I think that the networking skills is equally important to those skills in education, because this is what's going to land you your dream career in your STEM program or whatever program you decide to take on. So the faculty members, their previous careers that they've been in, the experience that they bring to the school is one thing that's going to help you. So when you learn to network with your academic advisors and your faculty to get, to land a job on campus, you can also use those same skills to navigate and land a job into your STEM career as well. So really, yes, you're going to be making money, but I think the practice that you get and the skills that you're going to learn through these on-campus employment is very important, and you should totally take advantage of it. The last tip is to be persistent and patient, and you're going to experience this when you're applying to your career as well. You're going to be submitting a lot of resumes. You might not hear back right away, and you might do hear back. So you do want to learn how to follow up, how to be patient, how to, put your resume out and give different things a shot. So these are a few tips to keep in mind when you are, finally enrolled into your program. The next opportunity is the CPT OPT opportunities, and this is exclusive to only STEM programs, which is why it's super important that you know that the program you want is STEM designated with the school that you're applying to. So the CPT is likened to an internship, and you are eligible to apply to a CPT role after completing your first 2 semesters on campus or your first year on campus. After you've completed your first 2 semesters, you're then allowed to apply to different internships with, with whatever companies you decide to apply to through the school. So the Career Services Center is going to play a huge role in assisting you and finding out what the CPT opportunities are that are available to you and how to apply to get that started. So you want to also take into consideration and knowing how long your program is going to take you. You know, how many credits is it? How many, how many maximized amount of credits can you take per semester to see how many semesters it's going to take you? Because you'll find that they do vary. Some programs will take only a year, which means after completing your 1 year, you're done, and you're probably just going to dive straight into your OPT, which is your occupational training. But some programs may take you 3 semesters or 4 semesters. So it's just good to get an idea of how many credits are required, how many credits you can take at most per semester to be a full-time student. And then that way you can map out and see the expected timeline for your OPT and CPT. And the good thing about the CPT is that a lot of these positions do also pay. So, and because you're working with a real company, they're probably going to be paying you significantly more than an on-campus job. So this is, definitely a huge advantage, and it's going to give you that same experience. And the good thing about CPT is that they're going, because they're hiring you at a lower cost, or they're not paying you as much as a typical full-time employee, but they get to see your work ethic. And, if you do impress them and leave an impression, they are going to be inclined to hire you full-time once you graduate. So it's a great opportunity to network and to build your the next stepping stone for your career. So again, it's very important to keep these things in mind from the very beginning so that you know what to expect in your timeline and before graduation, so that you don't miss out on an opportunity and you don't waste any time. Because before you know it, 2 years are going to fly by and you're already walking down to graduate. The OPT is the extended stay that you get from a STEM program for 3 years after graduation. So in the US, you are allowed to stay those extra 3 years so you can apply to jobs, your full-time jobs, and and then once you apply and land a job, then you can stay an extended period. So for those 3 years. So once those 3 years are done, the hopes is that you either will stay and then a new employer will now fund your visa or sponsor your visa, I should say. Or a lot of international students will stay for the 3 years or 2 years, as much as they want, and then they'll go back home so that they can bring, what they learned and their skills to something that they wanted to work on at home, different projects or companies that they've always wanted to work with. So this is just the general idea of CPT OPT. Again, it's only for STEM programs. So it's super important you know that your program is STEM designated. Because you get these benefits of additional training to what you would normally get in your schooling. So to continue the expert tips, you need to make sure that you are engaging with different departments like the Career Services Center, the Graduate Student Life, and the Academic Support Centers, because everyone here, those 3 departments, including the admissions, so these 4 departments are going to be, with you from the moment that you submit your application all the way until you graduate. So the Career Services Center, this is one department you want to look into on the websites as well, because they're the ones that are going to teach you and show you what network the school has, what kind of companies they work with, where the alumni have gone after graduation. So that's really important for your career. The Graduate Student Life is super important as well, because they do provide a social life, and they provide an important balance to engage with other students and get involved in different clubs and go on trips to balance also your studies, because you are making a big trip to come to the US. So you want to make sure that you are getting a full and holistic experience, both academically and socially as well. Plus, you never know what kind of network or how you can benefit from the students that you meet, because they're going to be part of your network, and maybe down the line, one of these students or friends can, help you secure a job. So it's always good to network at every level and never overlook an opportunity. And lastly, the academic centers, they're the ones that are going to ensure that your academics are up to par, that you're not falling behind, that there are no issues. And if there are issues, they're the people to assist you with that. So these are names of departments to keep in the back of your mind to reach out and ask questions to, so you know who to go to right away. And lastly, it is an opportunity to build your network, which I feel like I've said so many times, but I cannot express how important this is. Okay, so a few other things to keep in mind. The services, which we kind of just discussed, the different departments and what they can offer to you, but also the location. And I think this is important because the US is huge. You have the West Coast, the East Coast, and everything in the middle. So, and there are certain regions in the US that where certain industries are very popular. So for example, in New Jersey, we have a lot of pharmaceutical headquarters here. You have Merck, you have Pfizer, you have Bristol Myers Squibb, which I think might have merged with Merck if I remember correctly, but I could be wrong. So there's a lot of pharmaceutical opportunities here. And you can use whatever STEM degree you want in this type of industry. So whether it's engineering or math or data analysis, of course, you can use all these types of degrees, and there's going to be different jobs that are offered in different pharmaceutical companies. So that's like one thing to keep in mind. Of course, if you wanted to focus more in on finance, you have New York City, the Big Apple with Wall Street. Of course, there's a lot of opportunity there with data analysis and financial analysis. So just keep in mind, when you're looking into the different regions in the US and the different schools, see what kind of industries are popular there. So, that is certainly something to keep in mind. And also with the location comes the networking. So you'll know what kind of jobs will be available to you afterwards. And lastly, a few additional resources. The most important thing is really to see what the government can offer, because a lot of governments do offer different types of awards and assistance that sometimes most people don't know about. So just by you being here and connecting with Education USA, they will certainly can shed light on what opportunities through the government and what kind of scholarships or awards are available to you. So, ask and see what there is and apply. The best thing is to just apply and see what you can get, because it doesn't hurt. You might feel like, oh no, I'm not eligible or my grades aren't strong enough. Like, it's okay. If you're still in school, take advantage of the time remaining to strengthen your grades, but just apply and see. A couple other opportunities are the Institute of International Education Scholarship, which is IIE, or Fulbright. Now, these are two organizations that help fund students that get enrolled into that program. So these two are very competitive, and what it is, they use a cost share. So that means that the organization will fund some of your schooling, and then the school will also help pay by providing a scholarship of some sort as well. So you actually don't end up really paying anything out of pocket, and you get the support from both the university and the organization. Now, of course, because they are covering all of your costs, it is very competitive. But again, you want to look into these types of resources, see what the eligibility requirements are, and definitely, see what your chances are and take a shot at applying, and just at least connect to employees from there to see what the process is like and what the expectations are like. But these are two programs that I actually work very closely with at Stevens, and they provide so much opportunity. So they're just organizations I want to put out there for you to, learn about and do some research on as well. And as I mentioned, Education USA is a great, great resource because it is a state organization or a government organization with the US. So they'll definitely give you a lot of give you a lot of information with what's available in the US, and then also your prospective country as well. So to wrap things up, I just wanted to share a couple of testimonies from students that graduated from Stevens with a STEM degree. We asked them two main questions. Why did you choose STEM, and how has STEM helped your career? So we have Andres Contreras here. He graduated back in May 2014. And he said that he chose the STEM program because it was an opportunity to focus on what he really liked and put into practice, you know, what he's learned after his undergraduate degree. And then he said he was able to pursue opportunities within my graduate program's field with confidence and proof of my investment in this new career path. So the great thing about graduate studies is that you're really selecting something that you like, that you're passionate about, that you want to make a career out of. So, you know, you are making the investment to like move, and you're spending money on tuition, and it is an investment of like time, energy, money, everything. So you do want to make it count, and you want to make sure that you're selecting something that you are happy to be a part of and to learn about. My very last tip for you guys is to also make sure to look up the events that are available that the universities are hosting. Now, as Amanda mentioned, you know, we are living in that, you know, we're living in a COVID pandemic time. And, you know, one of the benefits that came out of this was being able to connect more, like at a higher volume and much more quickly with people from all across the world by hosting these virtual events. So this is the time to really take advantage and see, you know, what kind of webinars do these schools have? You know, they'll have virtual open houses. You know, at Stevens, we had faculty that would give you a mini lecture so that you can kind of sample and get a taste of what the content is like, what the course expectations are, and then also the opportunity to talk directly to the professors, which is amazing because they can guide you directly on academic expectations and any questions you may have academically. So definitely look at events on websites, see what's available, and sign up. And plus, there's other benefits where they'll waive your application fee by attending these events. So anyone that's attending here today, you know, and you decide to apply to Stevens, will waive your application fee. So it's a good way to save some money, to get important information, and to make sure that you are making you know, you're making the best decision for yourself as to which school and program is going to be the best fit for you. And with that, this wraps up our presentation. Another great way to connect with any school, of course, is through social media. It's a great way to connect with Education USA as well. So you want to see what social media, you know, connect with schools through their social media pages. And you can also talk to them through there, you know, through the instant messaging and the, you know, like the DMs and all that. So make sure you connect one way or another and do as much research as possible in all the different areas that we listed today. And I think when you do that, you will be able to make a great decision and, you know, be excited for that next STEM graduate program chapter. Thank you all so much. I think we're going to start looking into the questions you guys might have. So I'm going to stop sharing.
Excellent. Thank you, Marina. So yes, indeed, I do see that we have quite a few questions in the chat. We will go ahead and get started. The first question that I see here is how to find or secure a PhD scholarship in math or in the math education. Okay, so we talked a little bit about the different funds that there are, of course, ways to fund your STEM graduate program, okay? But in essence, if you're thinking about a PhD program, the first step you really need to think about is you need to think about what type of research you want to do in this field, okay? Because you know any PhD program will be solely focused on research. So it's very important that you yourself, again, you self-reflect on why you want this degree, but you also think about what are your research interests. Once you have determined what your research interests are, certainly start looking through the different university websites to find the universities that have that research interest, okay? And then once you have found that university, then you can start to talk about what type of funding there are, what type of assistantships there is. I can tell you that at Stevens, as I mentioned, we have these provost doctoral scholarships that essentially give you the ability to study, okay? And they pay for your full tuition 3 to 4 years, okay? So if you want to secure a scholarship or a fellowship such as this that will cover your entire studies, you do need to start preparing your academic profile. And the most important way to do this is to really think about your research. Again, your resume has to focus a lot on the research experience that you have had in the past because you're looking for a PhD program, because you're looking for a program that really is going to focus on a particular area, okay? So if you want to secure any sort of funding at the doctoral level, think about your research and then think about ways to showcase that on your academic profile. Like I said, a resume is a great place to do that, to show the strength of your research experience. A statement of purpose can also serve to explain why you want a particular degree and why you are interested in a particular research area. So that is another thing that you can do. Make sure that you're looking at your statement of purpose, that you are structuring it in a way where, again, you're highlighting these research areas. And of course, you have to prepare very much so for the GRE, right? The GRE will play a large part in when it comes to admission and also funding. So again, if you are looking to secure any sort of scholarships, make sure that those 3 components are strongly thought about, okay? Excellent. Let's see here. The next question I see here is, how can I connect with a professor at an institution? What kind of information should I present at the beginning? Should I share my CV, research projects? What is the agenda or workload of a typical master's student? Okay, so for the first part of this question, in essence, all admission offices will be your liaison, okay? They will help you connect with faculty. So yes, the answer is yes, you should be connecting with faculty before you apply to either a master's or a PhD program. But work with admission officers to do this, because they can help you connect with the right faculty who can provide this information for you, okay? So contact the admission officers. Of course, share your resume, maybe make a quick outline of what research interests you have for that particular university, and then they will go ahead and connect you with the right individuals. Now, as far as the agenda or the workload of a typical master's student, I think this does vary at different universities. If you're talking about studies in general, this depends on the program duration as well. Some of our master's programs at Stevens are 30 credits. Other programs are 36 credits. In general, they take about 1.5 years to 2 to complete. Okay, so what this means is that once academic semester, students are normally taking 3 to 4 courses. Okay, 3 to 4 courses might not sound a lot, but at the graduate level, with all the different assignments that you have to do, it is going to keep you very busy. So this is, again, probably the maximum that you'll be taking in one academic semester. And so your semester will be busy. Just to give you a little bit more insight as to the graduate courses at Stevens, most of the graduate courses actually take place in the evening hours. So many of our master students have the daytime to really work and prepare for their courses, to read anything that has been left as an assignment, to work in teams, because many of the projects that you'll be doing with your fellow classmates do require teamwork. Okay, so this is just to give you a little bit of an idea of what the workload would be like, but also what type of schedule you would follow as a student, again, under a master's program at Stevens. Great.
You can also directly contact the faculty as well. If you go to the websites and you go to the department and the programs, you'll see faculty profiles, and you can always send them an email that way too. But as Amanda said, it's also good to sometimes do it through the graduate admissions office, but that it is just another option as well, to send them directly.
That's right. Excellent. The next question I see here is, can a student who just finished an undergraduate program apply for a new F1 visa to complete his graduate studies? Okay, so you just finished your undergraduate program, and you're looking now into a graduate program. Perfect. So yes, in fact, you can start the process now. Remember, applying for graduate school is going to take time. It's not going to be, it's not going to just be a few weeks. You really need to invest time in your search so that you find the right program. So if you just finished your undergraduate program, my best advice right now would be for you to think about what type of program you want to pursue, why you want to pursue it, what type of dream job do you want to pursue after you graduate your graduate program. And once you have done that, once you have answered those questions, then actually start your research on the different universities. Applying in itself could take months. Hearing back from the schools could also take a certain amount of time. So you need to consider that it's not going to just happen from one day to the next. Once you have applied to a university, different universities will have a different review process, okay? I'll tell you a little bit about Stevens. In that sense, when a student submits an application and their complete package is now with us, the departments may take anywhere from 2 to 4 weeks to return a decision back. If it's a PhD application, the decision might take maybe 3 months or so. So you need to account for all this time. Now, when a decision is generated, let's say you are admitted to Stevens, then you have to work with our admission office and our International and Student Scholar Services office to get an I-20, which is the document that will then lead you to apply for an F1 visa, okay? So all in all, yes, if you have just finished your undergraduate program, you can start thinking about this. You can start preparing your academic profile. Just keep in mind that this is gonna take some time on your part. And of course, only if you're admitted to the graduate program will then you be able to seek sponsorship and apply for an F1 visa, okay? Marina, I don't know if you wanna add anything to that.
No, that sounds good. Thanks, Amanda. Okay, let's see what's the next. Okay, so the next question is, can you tell us more about the timeline we did. Question from one of the participants. So Stevens have conditional admission? Yes, we do, but I don't think it's the type that you are expecting. So the conditional admission is once you've submitted all of your requirements, depending on the type of grades you have, some faculty will give you an admit, but they'll require you to have a B or higher in certain courses, and they'll list the courses to you. So it could be like 1 to 3 courses where you have to secure a B or higher to keep your admission. Because if you do score lower than a B in these courses, you are at risk of losing the program. So that is the kind of conditional admit we have. In general, in order to even receive a decision, you have to submit all of the requirements. So, that includes whether it's a language test or the GRE, even though for spring 21, we are currently still waiving the GRE for the master's program because of the pandemic. But, with that aside, in general, you have to submit all of the requirements, under normal circumstances to receive a decision. So there's no such thing as, for example, not submitting the GRE, getting an admission, and then submitting the GRE to secure that admission. So that we don't really offer because we want to see, because we are a small school and we have ranked very highly, we do take the admissions very seriously, and we do like to pick, the cream of the crop, for Stevens. So yes, we do offer conditional admit, but that's based on completed requirements that are submitted prior. And then it depends on your grades to see if you do need some sort of academic regulation when you are enrolled. So I hope that clarifies that. Should we go to the next one?
I think so, yep.
All right. Is it possible for me to pursue my PhD without having a master's degree? What is the process like, and what will the admissions committee look for? Okay, this is a great question. So as Amanda mentioned, when it comes to the PhD, research is so important. So in order to increase your chances of getting admitted, you need to present that you have a research background. And one of the ways most people reach that background is by doing a master's prior. So it's not necessarily required for you to do it, but it's certainly favorable. And it will do you justice to have pursued a master's and apply that when you're going for your PhD, because that's how schools will see that you did do and have a research background. And then the process really is the same. The only difference for the most part with the PhD programs, at least on the Stevens end, is that you're going to be required 3 letters of recommendations, where master's only requires 2. But the process is the same. You submit all the requirements, GRE, TOEFL, letters of recs, all of that. But with PhD, if you have, one thing you definitely want to be able to submit is if you have any published works or research that you definitely want to include, because again, you want to highlight that you have a research experience. So you certainly want to do that, submit that for your application. What will the admissions committee look for? They want to see good grades, they want to see amazing recommendations, and they want to see research. So research is what's really going to give you that edge.
And just a little bit more insight on that aspect, I think in fact, yes, everything that Marina said was very true, but you yourself have to also think about, if you're applying to a PhD program without having a master's, you have to consider that this is going to be a much more competitive application, okay, and a much more competitive admission to secure. So think about your options, have other plans in mind as well. You know, if you're not admitted directly to a PhD program without a master's, maybe you should consider a master's along the way, right? A master's will help you know if the right school, if the school that you're attending is the right one for a PhD. The master's can also shed some light on what research area you might be most interested in, right? You might learn something along the way in the master's program that then you'll consider focusing your research on for the PhD program. Okay, so basically what I'm saying is make sure you consider all your options. And if you're not admitted directly into a PhD program, it's okay. Think of the master's as a stepping stone towards the PhD. Okay, thank you, Marina.
Thanks, Amanda. Okay, next question. For the jury, does Stevens put more weight on the math section than the English section? Great question. I'll give you my honest opinion. I think when you're applying for the more quantitative programs, you know, like computer science, like financial analytics, of course, they're going to want to see a really high quantitative section. I don't think you should ever focus on one section more than the other. You know, don't have, you know, I wouldn't encourage you to do your best and get a 165 in quant and then a 141 in verbal, and then you call it a day because you scored really well in the quant. No, they do. Universities want to see a holistically good student. They want to see both, you know, they want to see your strong areas in both sections. But yes, I mean, I think the quant is going to be important when it comes to these types of fields. So you want to do your best in that, but do not, you know, underestimate or, you know, you want to do your best in both areas. But yeah, I mean, you certainly want to make sure you do well in the quant section. Of course, you know, when it comes to things, programs that are like management, you know, they definitely want to see both like the verbal and the technical skills, because that's what these management and MBA programs are. They're a mix of both technical and management skills and verbal, so it's important. Do your best in both. You know, if quant is your stronger side and verbal not so much, like it's okay. You want to, you know, you do want to make up for it in one area, but definitely do your best and don't ignore the verbal entirely, because you want to get the best score that you can get in both areas, because universities want to see that you are strong in both, even if they are a more quantitative program. Okay, next question. What percentage of international students receive financial aid at your institution, and what is the average aid amount? Great question. So at Stevens, actually, our graduate program is mostly international students. I want to say we are about 60 to 70% international, and we have students that come from all across the world. So it's really wonderfully diverse. I think it gives our institution a special flavor with the diversity that comes with it. So with that, and we do have a very special big funding pool of money to provide scholarships, because we do want to encourage students to come and to study here and take on the opportunities offered here at Stevens. So, you know, we do have a very large pool of scholarships to offer. So yes, we do offer scholarships for international students, and because we're mostly international, that's certainly available to you. And as Amanda mentioned, it does cover typically between 20 to 30% of your tuition. So it does vary. You have scholarships that can start at $5,000 all the way up to $15,000. And lately, you know, we have been seeing much higher awards that can go up to $20,000. So yeah, and that's going to cover, you know, at least like 1/4 of your semester, so of your studies, because, you know, the tuition is about $18,000 a semester. So yeah, it's certainly available to you. It is competitive, of course, but international students are eligible for this award, certainly. And just to touch on like the financial aid term, these awards are academically, they're based on academic merit. So we don't offer financial aid where we look at financial background and then submit awards on that. It's solely just on your academics. So that's why it's important to see if there are an actual financial aid opportunities through, you know, your government or through other areas that can help you also get some assistance as well. All right. All right. Can you tell us more about what the letters of recommendation should include and from whom? And if my professor or employer have never written a letter of recommendation, what tips should I give them? This is a really, really good question. It's good to have a variety of different letters. So someone who, like a former boss or manager, is a good person to have, and also a former professor as well, because it's just a good way to get a variety of background. You know, what were you like as a student? What are you like as an employee? So variety is definitely good. If you get 2 professors or 2 managers, that's also fine. It doesn't hurt you in any way. But of course, you know, diversity is always one thing to keep in mind. If they've never written a letter, you know, that's still a good thing, because it's really what their goal is, to just write about you in a good light. So if you have a good connection with them, I don't think you should be worried. They should definitely talk about your achievements and, you know, what it was like working with you, how you were like as a student or as an employee. So, you know, if you want to just like give them guides on like, in that sense, you know, talk about your accomplishments and like what made you stick out. You know, those are some things you can tell them, but ultimately, if you have a good relationship with that person, I don't think you have anything to worry about, because, you know, they're doing you a favor by writing about you and saying good things about you. So that would be my tips. I don't know, Amanda, if you have anything else.
Yeah, no, I think everything you said was wonderful. I think keep in mind, at the end of the day, your work ethic is what our faculty members want to hear about, okay? So whoever you're going to ask for a letter of recommendation, make sure that they can talk about your work ethic, what type of individual you are, and of course, why you want to seek this degree. They should as well, your recommender should also have an idea as to why you want this graduate degree, okay? So make sure you just don't pick anyone, that you think about who you're going to pick, and that you choose very strategically, again, so that they can make the best letter for you, okay?
Okay, we have some really good questions. We'll run through them, yeah. Okay,
I see here. Yes, that's right. Go ahead,
all right,
Marina.
so what networking opportunities do you offer at your institution? So because we're very lucky that we're right across from New York City, we take pride in all of our connections with a lot of companies in New York. And this is one of the things that makes us very unique, because we have a career services center. And if you're a part of the School of Business, the School of Business has its own career center as well. So really connecting with these faculty, they will let you know, what companies that we work closely with. We bring a lot of these companies to campus 3 to 4 times a year for a career fair. So that's a great way to actually meet these people face to face. But also the career services will help you land an interview to go, in the New York region, because it is very close to us and there's a lot of opportunity there. So that's one thing that you will have to your advantage. And you can see that on our website as well, like a lot of the companies that we work with and the alumni that get hired afterwards, or where they go at least. Do you have students on your campus from the MENA region? Yes, we have a huge Middle Eastern population. I myself am Middle Eastern. I'm Egyptian, so there's definitely a lot of diversity, and there's a lot of clubs too that are both, you have religious clubs and you have cultural clubs, and of course you have academic clubs. So there's a lot of things available to you, and a lot of faculty that are also from the Middle Eastern region as well. So there are people here that you can connect with culturally with the same language, and they can even give you tips to, what it was like for them when they moved here, whether as a student or as a faculty. So, that is huge for us. Again, the diversity that we have is so vast, and I think no matter where you come from, you'll find someone that's been here and is here from your country. What can we do during our free time on or off campus? Great question. This goes back to the department, the student life department, because these are the people that are going to help fill you with your free time. They're the ones that schedule trips and retreats and networking and mixers and all this fun stuff. And, hopefully by the time you guys come to the US, things will be more normal. So you get to experience and do a lot of fun things. But yeah, the student life is what's going to help you build a social life, really, and help you connect with other students. Amanda, did you want to add anything so far?
I think, outside of the career opportunities, we at Stevens want all of our students to really become members of the community. So as Marina said, it's very important that, of course, you come with the mindset of, I'm going to study and I want to study to, reach my dream job. I think you also have to think about, how can you incorporate yourself as a member of, the new university that you're attending. And as Marina said, we do a lot of activities, a lot of coaching in that sense to make sure that all of our students truly become members of our Stevens community and that they're getting the best experience possible, that they're not only there for the studies, but that they're also making the best of the 2 years if they're there for their master's, or the best of the 3-4 years if they're there for the PhD program, okay? So I think the best thing to do is at any university, once you get to that university, make sure that you investigate, that you learn everything that there is to know in terms of resources. Where is the gym? Where are the sporting events? Where do they take place? Because all of that is really, again, going to make your studies all that much more enjoyable, okay? I see here the next question that we have is, what happens if I need to return home for a semester? Can I suspend my studies for a period of time and then come back? So this is a good question for our academics team. In essence, of course, once we have our students on campus and once they have started their masters, we want to see them complete it all. Of course, in the 2 years, that is the time frame that is designated. But if something was to happen and you did need to return home, in essence, you would be speaking with your academic advisor about next steps. You would be speaking with the Office of Graduate Academics. There are some cases where students take a leave of absence for a semester, for example, and then they choose to come back to the US to complete their studies, okay? So there are policies in place at Stevens that allow this, but again, our preference and what we strive to see is for all of our students, once they reach campus, to really complete their master's degree, right? So, but of course, we would be willing to support all of our students in any way should they need to return home for a semester. The next question I see here is there any chance for people who have a GPA less than a 3.0, but they're good at other aspects? That's right. Yep. So, I mentioned that the average GPA of some of our applicants is a 3.0, but in fact, you're right. And I think Marina also alluded to this earlier. Our faculty and our departments review applications in a very holistic manner, okay? So what does this mean? They're not only offering you admission on the basis of your GPA, your GRE. No, they're looking at your full academic profile, which is why it's so important that you take the time to properly write a statement of purpose, that you organize your resume in a way where your most strongest skills stand out, okay? Because in fact, that is the case at Stevens. Our departments review all aspects on the application and they make a decision on all of these factors. In some cases, we have had students have a lower GPA than a 3.0, but because they had a higher GPA to balance it out, they still gained admission to Stevens, okay? And that is okay, that is going to happen. Again, if a student didn't have such a strong GPA and maybe not a strong GRE, but had significant work experience or research experience, right, then that could also speak to the student's ethic and could gain them admission, okay? So there are different ways, again, that students gain admission at Stevens. It's not just on the basis of these numbers. And so again, this is why it's important to really take the time to build an academic profile and really showcase your strengths before you are applying to any university, okay? I think the next question I see here is, how would you describe students enrolled at your STEM programs? This is a great question. I think I'm loving this webinar. I love all the questions that we're getting, so interactive. In essence, I think our students are very energetic. They're passionate about, making a difference in their given industries. And I think that is what impresses us most from an admissions perspective office. When we start working with students, again, the timing, the time that we work with the students leading up to admission could vary. It could be 3-4 months. And in some cases, we follow many students very closely because we get to know all of our students very well, right? So within those 3 or 4 months, we get to know, what you're passionate about, what your concerns are for a graduate program. And I think it's such a good feeling then to then welcome our students during orientation, because we have seen them go through the admissions process. So welcoming all of our students orientation is just a wonderful pleasure every single year. And again, I can always remember the faces of students as being very energetic, enthusiastic, again, passionate about their industries, passionate about their dream goals. I mean, they're very eager. And I think that is what you should strive for, right? Eager to know what resources you have at your institution so that you make the best experience possible. Marina, I don't know if you want to add anything else from that perspective.
Oh, that was great. I mean, I would also just say that our students really are so brilliant and have, you know, this crazy vision, and it's really inspiring even for me just to like see and work with them. So we have a great student population.
That's right. Okay, I think the next question here is accommodation guaranteed on campus? How do students typically pay or for rent? Can you share tips for the personal statement? Okay. So in terms of accommodations, housing for graduate students at Stevens is actually off campus, okay? It's not on our campus. Both Marina and I actually have, our backgrounds are not of our campus, but our backgrounds are from the views of New York, which is really impressive. But in essence, our campus is a very small campus, and it's located in Hoboken, New Jersey, which is a very, very small town. So campus itself does not have the accommodations for housing graduate students, but our university has worked with residential apartments off campus, again, where our students could apply and could gain some sort of accommodation in terms of living. Most of our graduate students, I would have to say though, they do seek housing on their own. Because they prefer to look for a particular, you know, they're used to a particular lifestyle, right? Most of the housing that is leased for Stevens or through Stevens, you actually have to share a room with someone else, and you have to share an apartment with 2 or 3 other people, okay? So in this case, sometimes students do prefer to look for places on their own, and so they'll look for housing in nearby towns. Next to Hoboken, we have a town called Union City, and we also have a town called Weehawken and Jersey City. And so a lot of students look for apartments on their own. Of course, they share the apartment with maybe 1 student or 2 students, but maybe they don't share a room, right? So again, it depends on your living preferences. In terms of rent, I think it would vary. You know, we have heard that some students pay $600. Maybe they can pay all the way up to $1,000 a month. But again, it depends on the type of apartment that you want. If you want a big apartment, if you want a small, if you want an average apartment, again, it depends on how many people you're sharing the apartment with. So there's all these considerations to make, okay? But if you're truly interested, you know, I think in understanding a little bit more about Stevens and how, you know, our Stevens students work, you know, I definitely keep an eye out on that events page that Marina shared with you earlier, because we are going to be having a lot of events, a lot of virtual webinars with even current students where they can share their experiences and what their finances are from a month-to-month perspective, okay? Now, jumping on the topic of personal statement. Okay, so this is a great question. We actually also, I hosted a webinar on personal statement a couple of weeks back. And in essence, you know, there are different ways that you can write a statement of purpose. But one such way that you can consider is you can consider structuring it in a way where you talk a little bit about your past, a little bit about your present, and a little bit about your future, right? All with the goal of course, answering the question, why do you want this degree, right? Why do you want this graduate degree for this? And why do you want the dream job that you want, right? Academic departments want to know why you want a specific degree, why you want Stevens, and what is your interest, right? So make sure that when you're answering the questions or when you're structuring your essay, you think about these things and you share knowledge, you impart this knowledge so that when faculty members read it, they can really get a sense of how passionate you are to pursue a particular graduate degree, okay? Okay. Let me see here. The next question I see is, would taking a course-based master's instead of research-based minimize chances of getting admission to a PhD program? That is a great question. Okay, so in essence, if you know on the long run that you do want to pursue a PhD program, then yes, your best shot is to consider a master's program that is more centered around research, that is focused on it, right? At Stevens, actually, we have, there are a couple of master's degrees where we offer a degree of Master of Engineering versus Master of Science degree, right? And most often we get the question from students, well, what's the difference, right? If it's, why do you have both for computer engineering, for example? And so we answer the question, you know, based on the fact that it really depends on what you're looking to do in the future. If you know that you want to be a computer engineer in industry, if you want to, you know, exercise those technical skills, use those technical skills, then perhaps you want to pursue the Master of Engineering degree versus the Master of Science degree. If you know you want a PhD degree on the long run, then go for the Master of Science degree, which will allow you to gain some research experience. Research experience, again, that is going to help you, number one, determine if you in fact want a PhD degree, right? Remember, the master's will be a stepping stone towards your PhD degree. So it's going to help you and introduce you to research. So take that advantage, because ultimately that will help you know if the PhD is something you want in the long run. Okay. All right, the next question I see here is, if you have a master's degree in math education from Auckland, what is a joint project? What advice do you have for PhD scholarship? I'm not sure if I'm understanding that question. Marina, I don't know if you want to jump in, but in essence, in terms of the what advice would you have to give a PhD scholarship or to get a PhD scholarship? I mean, in essence, again, just to reiterate what I said earlier, you have to build your strongest academic profile, okay? So again, if you are taking the time to do your research in graduate programs and you know you want to apply a year from now, then really prepare yourself for the GRE. Really take the time to prepare your resume, send it out to your faculty mentors, send it out to advisors, colleagues, friends who are in industry, who have maybe sought a master's degree, and get their advice, get their input on how to best structure your resume. Take the time to write many drafts of your personal statement, right? So that you get to the best draft of it. Because I think all of these aspects will help you gain admission, but will also help you with the funding aspect, okay? So the overall tip here or advice is prepare as much as you can. Prepare those documents in advance so that, again, your academic profile is the strongest one that you can.
Yeah, and I think the joint program is a huge advantage because it shows that you were able to balance both your undergrad and master's courses at once. So, you know, and hopefully with the master's, you are doing research. So again, just make sure to make mention of that.
Mm-hmm.
I did answer the rest of the questions in the chat. So I'm not too sure how we are doing with time. I know we're going over a little bit over. Oh, but we did just get one more that I think is important. Do you support students with disabilities? Yeah, we actually do have a department that does support students with different disabilities. So, you know, depending on what your disability is, we have faculty that can assist you with whatever needs that you may have. So again, please feel free to connect with the admissions office. We'll connect you to our care department. And we can certainly assist you. I mean, overall, our campus is pretty, it is handicap friendly, so anyone can access it. So that's a plus. But again, depending on, you know, what concerns you may have, you know, we are more than happy to assist any way that we can. And even if it's maybe something that we do need to, you know, something new for us to adopt to further accommodate, we are very flexible in doing so, because, you know, it is our pride and joy to make sure all of our students are comfortable. So certainly, so yeah, we do have a whole department that does assist any student with, or any faculty even with disabilities. Okay.
Excellent. These were all fantastic questions. I'm so happy that we had so much interaction with you all. And I think this really shows how passionate and how willing you are to prepare your academic profile. So thank you for all those questions.
Thank you so much, Amanda and Marina, for answering all of the questions that we had for today's session. Thank you so much for all of the information that you have shared. For any follow-up, you can email us at ramallah@educationusa.org so we can help you and answer any questions that you might have. Again, thank you everyone for those of you who have joined us today, and enjoy the rest of your day or the rest of your evening. Bye everyone. Thank you so much.
Bye. Thank you all.
Bye, everyone. Thank you.